The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Insights. I'm Erica Fernandez, and I'm joined here today by Mayor Matt Wallagora. Thank you so much for being here, Mayor Matt.
Thank you, and good morning.
Good morning. So today, we are focusing on the topic of loitering. Go ahead and tell me, first off, does Alpena have no loitering laws?
We have some ordinances that pertain to loitering. Some are a little bit more specific than others. In the case of specific loitering, like no loitering, most of those pertain to like an age demographic. After a certain period of time, if you're 12 years old, you can't be loitering on city property without a parent or a guardian. And then after midnight, it's anyone between the ages of 12 and 17. So, okay. So there are some very specific loitering laws, but as far as congregating or just being in a public place or on public property, the laws become a little bit more vague, I suppose.
So are there specific areas or locations that there is no loitering that allowed at all?
That would be, like I said, in the ordinance, some of those are very specific to loitering outside in establishments that serve alcohol, and what your conduct is at that establishment or what you're there for. So they do get a little bit specific about that. Most of the other ordinances are set up in a bit of a vagueness that give the police department a little bit more discretion as to whether someone's breaking the law or not, and that usually comes down to what that person or those persons' conduct is, not necessarily the fact that they're loitering or that they're on public property, but what their conduct is at the time.
So if a local business owner is having an issue with loitering, what is something that they should do?
That's going to be, I guess, determined by the business owner, and I would assume, I guess, that again, the conduct of those that are loitering are going to be the issue, not just the fact that they're there. So the laws are of the conduct are specific as far as whether the people that are loitering are they inhibiting the public from entering or exiting a building or a parking area or something of that nature, and so. Or are they? Is their conduct vulgar or in any way, disturbing the peace? And so, when that kind of thing happens, a business owner or a resident should certainly contact the police department.
So, speaking of local business owners and this possibly being an issue, has this ever been addressed at a city council meeting?
Oh, sure. I guess specifically at a city council meeting. We have had business owners in the past. I remember one specifically about 4 years ago prior to my being elected, that a business owner came in and addressed the city council as far as some loitering, and older teens or young adults were in a public parking lot, and they were near his family-friendly establishment, and they were loud and obnoxious and vulgar with swearing and whatnot. And so he came to us to address that and to ask for a little bit more attention to his circumstances, so sure.
So then that's when that starts to become an issue, not so much the publicly hanging out, but it's more so the things that are happening while they're there. Yeah,
and I think, it goes back decades, probably since the automobile was introduced, that people tend to hang out. Young adults and teens tend to find a spot anywhere, whether it be in the city of Alpena, whether it be the Duck Park or the parking lot by the farmers market, or Bayview Park, or I could name all of them. Mishikiwa's parking lot, and so. That's always going to be, and I don't necessarily think that I would promote a community that didn't have a place for teens to go. But at the same time, they need to understand that their conduct has to be in keeping with what someone would a reasonable person would think would be respectful.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that this has gone on at multiple different locations for some time now. What do you think should be done in order to maybe help prevent this?
And that's the ongoing struggle. I suppose anybody you talk to, whether it be a business owner that actually confronted a group, or parents, or even the police department or anyone else, the conduct and policing themselves, I suppose, would probably be the most important thing. And when they say that it takes a community, this is definitely one of those issues that constantly takes a community to do. One, calling the police department, I suppose, and they're going to use their discretion when they get on the scene, and just how much the person that reported it knows about which specific person did what specific thing, and whether it was in their automobile squealing their tires, or pulling out, or driving across the grass, or littering. All these issues kind of combined. So really it takes probably everyone involved to become a community where we don't have an issue with that. And as far as parents, knowing where their kids are and what they're doing, and those young adults at the same time knowing what their friends are doing and what they're doing. I mean, no one probably past the age of 6 thinks that it's right to throw trash on the ground and then leave, or sling the F word while there's other children and women and families around. I mean, those are just things that are dictated by a society. So it takes everyone from that group, or someone in that group, to stand up and say to their friends, this isn't really cool, we're going to get kicked out of here if we keep doing this. To parents that remind their kids when they're out late, hey, I know you're hanging out with your friends, but hey, how about being respectful today, and things of that nature. And the business owners as well. And I know most of them that I've come in contact have done the right thing, and just trying to make it better.
Yeah, so really quickly, tell me, do you think that if Alpena enforced loitering laws a little bit better, that it would help alleviate this problem?
I think, in my experience, the police department is doing a good job of what they do. Again, it's always up to the discretion of when they show up and what they can do. So as far as enforcing loitering laws, we don't want to be a community where no one's welcome outside,
right,
or no one's allowed to congregate in an area at any given time. So I don't know if over-enforcement or more enforcement of loitering itself is a good idea, but just continuing to find ways, whether it's whether it becomes a better, maybe some better and improved style of communicating with teens in the school system, with our DARE, and with the police department, or other adults just kind of coming in every now and again and talking to those teens specifically. There's probably a lot of different things that we could do and improve on over the years, but actual enforcement and tightening up our loitering laws, I don't know whether that would be more restrictive than good.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your input.
Oh, you're welcome.
Stay tuned, because coming up next, I'll speak with a local business owner. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Erica Fernandez, and I'm joined here right now with the owner of Performance Soccer, Casey Stutzman. Casey, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Erica.
Of course. So that we mentioned that you are the owner here at Performance Soccer. How long have you been a local business owner here in Alpena?
We've been in business about 1.5 years.
Okay. And since we're talking about the issue of loitering, how long ago did you start notice that loitering was an issue?
Pretty much since the day we opened.
Yeah?
Yeah. We're in a unique situation because we're at Mishikiwis, so we're in a public park in a public area, and half of our parking lot is a public parking lot. So it's been an issue since day one, and we've been dealing with it for about 1.5 years now.
So what are some of the steps that you guys have taken?
We've gone through all the proper channels in terms of police and city, and we've talked to them, and they've been incredibly helpful. Part of the thing is that I think it's more of a community issue than anything, and I think any solution is going to have to come more from the community. Like I said, the police in the city have been incredibly helpful, and we've gone through all the proper channels. We're just not getting the desired outcome that we want.
So when you noticed, is there a specific time of day that the loitering kind of goes up?
Yeah, so lunchtimes, open lunchtime, it's always really, really big. There's a ton of traffic in and out, very congested into the parking lot, into the areas at that time. And that coincides with both the school lunches. And then after school, pretty much through the rest of the evening, and usually pretty late. We close up shop around 7:30-ish, and it's usually going pretty strong around that time, especially during the summer.
Yeah. So since you have, I'm assuming, classes throughout the day, times fluctuate. Does this affect your business?
It does, and some of the big issues, like so we offer early morning stuff. So when people come in the morning, a lot of times the parking lot is just destroyed. Like there's just litter and there's garbage all over the place on that back half of the parking lot. Along the lunchtime, that happens as well. So we see a ton of trash and a ton of litter in there. There's a lot of times either staff members or local citizens we'll see outside, kind of volunteering, picking up. The city's obviously here a lot, trying to clean up after that. Congesting the parking lot during times when people are trying to get in and out, whether it be for our business or just recreational use of the park. Trying to get into Starlight Beach Park you need to go through that same way. Mm-hmm. So when there's like 20, 30 cars that are coming in and leaving simultaneously all through the same exit, it makes it hard for people to access the park in the areas. And then some of the biggest effects that we notice is it's more the behaviors than anything. It's not that people are hanging out in the parking lot. Like that doesn't bother us at all. It's more the behaviors. It's the littering, reckless driving is a big one, taking corners too fast, peeling around areas, driving recklessly, driving on the grass, driving over the medians, peeling out tires, blocking pathways. It's a huge safety concern. We've already had one of our members' cars be hit by someone who was backing up too fast and not paying attention. We've had a bunch of near misses. So these are really the things that negatively affect. From a community standpoint, it's not a great thing to have right on Front Street, if you will,
right.
As people are maybe visiting or new to our town and seeing that type of activity right on main stretches of State Street.
So you mentioned that this is something that happens every day. Mm-hmm. Have you taken any actions maybe to try and get it fixed? Yeah,
absolutely. Again, the challenge comes down to the city police have been incredibly helpful, but they have more important things to do, and they can't be here 24/7, and they have to really catch them in the act in order to issue citations or take any serious action. And again, the city's been really helpful. They help put up signs to designate our spots in our areas, but a lot of times those get ignored, or by the time we finally get to the ability to call the police, they've already moved on, and it blocks things there. So again, I think it comes down to it's more of a community issue, and it's going to take some community involvement for a resolution.
So what do you think, you mentioned community resolution, what do you think that entails?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I wish I had an answer. I think the first step of fixing a problem is knowing that there is a problem, and this is not the first time and situation. Similar groups or the same groups, I'm not sure, have been chased out of different parking lots for damage and vandalism and reckless driving and language and all these other issues that we're having here. So it just keeps moving to different spots. It's been an issue at the Farmers Market, at Bayview, at Duck Park. I know they had an issue at the Alpena Mall last year. So it just keeps moving to different spots. And again, I think if we, as a community, realize that it is an issue and this is something that we do want to take care of, or just start to take action on or take a stand on, I think just awareness of it is step one.
Because you are in such a unique situation where this isn't a private owned property, it is a public lot,
right.
And you are near so many public parks and beaches and things like that. Do you think that there should be another location where kids or anybody can hang out to avoid loitering problems?
That's a great question, and honestly, at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's not a loitering issue, it's a behavior issue. So if this group of individuals decided to just respectfully use the parking lot and hang out and chat amongst themselves and play in the park, by all means, I have no problem with that anywhere. It's the reckless driving. We've had both employees and members that have been catcalled and given, had very lewd comments directed towards them, foul language. We've tried to last year in particular, we had a summer bike ride where we had 40, 50 plus community members and family with young kids. And there's loud music with poor language. There's poor language amongst the individuals, like right in front of young kids and families. It's really hard when we're trying to promote the parks and the areas to family and youth. And it can be a deterrent. It can be the type of thing that keep people away. So at the end of the day, it's more of a behavior issue. If if they would drive responsibly, if there wasn't the littering, if there wasn't the foul language, if take all those things out of the equation, and it's not an issue.
Yeah.
It's just addressing those things, and it's been frustrating because I know that the police have talked to numerous individuals and groups numerous times about the same things over and so it's not like they don't know that these things are frowned upon.
Right.
And part of it's just common courtesy and common sense. It's a public area, meaning it should be open and welcome for all individuals, and that everybody should respect anybody else who might want to use that area.
So the cops are called every day to come and help.
Right. And again, we try and we don't have a lot of other options. When all of our parking spaces are being taken up, or when we see something that's dangerous, or we see something that's in violation, we'll call and make it known. But again, we know that the police have better things to do,
right.
And so we try not to call all the time. But it's just one of the only courses of action that we have at this point.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here today with me, Casey, and for sharing the whole situation that you guys are dealing with. Stay tuned because coming up next, I'll speak with local law enforcement. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Erica Fernandez, and I'm joined here right now with Lieutenant Eric Hamp. Thank you so much for being here, Lieutenant.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, since we are talking about the issue of loitering, how often does the city police receive calls about this issue?
Well, I would say at a certain time of the years we receive more calls than others, especially when school is in session, because it seems to occur a lot of times during the high school students' lunch hours. Mm-hmm. They seem to congregate in certain parking lots during about an hour and a half span, which covers all 3 lunch periods.
So what steps do you guys usually take when these calls are made?
So what we do is, just like any other call, we'll get a call. Typically, the complainant will call in the central dispatch and pass along the information, and then an officer gets dispatched over to the parking lot where the complaint is, and we handle it just like any other call. We go to the call and we investigate to see what the problem is. We look for various things, depending on the situation, or each parking lot is different, whether it's a private lot or a public lot. We have enforcement action that we can take if they're parked in illegally parked in a spot, for example, like they may be double parked, where they're parked into 2 spots, or they may be parked in a spot that's marked for like a customer. For example, like the performance locker has spots that are marked just for his business.
Right.
And what will happen is citizens will park in his spots, and we can also ticket those vehicles that are illegally parked there.
So, unfortunately for Casey, his lot is a public-owned lot, so there's not a whole lot that can be done. But what about on private lots? What then steps do you take?
Yeah, so on private lots, they're actually very similar.
Okay.
But we don't ticket and we don't issue parking tickets in private parking lots. So what business owners need to do is they need to properly mark their lot. Okay, saying that trespassing is forbidden, and you'll see these signs up around town, oftentimes that your vehicle may be towed. Okay, and they'll list a towing agency on that sign. Okay, so what'll happen, for example, if there's a vehicle that's left in that lot, we will get contacted. We just simply go over there, we will run the VIN number on that vehicle to make sure that vehicle's not stolen, and then the owner of that private lot can contact that towing company and have that vehicle removed.
So when you guys get these calls, and is it frequently, or do you believe that this is hindering you or your colleagues from doing your job correctly?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's hindering. I mean, that's part of our job, and that's what we're here to do. So, to be honest, it's not a daily occurrence. It seems to kind of be streaky, and when the weather's nicer and people are outside more, we tend to get more calls. And as I mentioned earlier, typically during the school year, we handle more calls as well during that 10 to noon time period.
So from your perspective, do you think that loitering is an issue in the Alpena community?
It has been at times. I've been here with the Alpena Police Department for 12 years. It's been my experience is that the kids will congregate in a certain parking lot, and we will address the issues there. And then what happens is they simply just move to a different area. Okay, so it is an issue, but the issue moves around.
We know that they do congregate in the performance soccer parking lot, but what are some of the other locations that has been an issue in the past?
Well, several spots in the city. We have they've actually congregated in the city hall parking lot where the farmers market is. We've had issues at the kiddie park down near the boat harbor. There was a issue last year in the township at the Alpena Mall. You go back into the 90s, there was a big issue at the Duck Park at US 23 North in Long Rapids Road. That was a very large gathering spot, which eventually led to gates getting put up, and the officers at a certain time of the evening would go down and kick everybody out and had to lock the gate up. So it's nothing new. It's just progressed to different lots is what happens.
So what do you think should be done in order to prevent these types of things from occurring so often?
Well, we do enforce this issue in different lots, and again, you really have to separate between the two lots. For example, in a public city-owned parking lot, we want people to hang out in our parks and enjoy. Especially like down at Michigan, it's a beautiful place. So the whole idea of the parking lot is for people to park there and enjoy the community and the lake. But when it becomes a problem is when those people that are hanging out there are leaving their trash behind and using inappropriate language and they're reckless driving. That's when we need to get involved. Okay, so we have, especially as we get complaints on a certain parking lot, we step up our enforcement efforts, not only on traffic offenses, but also on the parking in the lot itself.
Okay. So because there's so many public areas where these kids or people in general, it's not always kids, are congregating and loitering, do you find that it's more of an issue at like parks or is it more of an issue at businesses, or does it just kind of vary?
Yeah, it's been my experience that it's more in the parking lots is where they congregate. I think it's probably more because it's an open area. And the private lots as well, there's times when they will tow vehicles if they're left there overnight. So what we'll do is we'll ticket the vehicle. We also have the option of towing the vehicle, for snow removal reasons and that type of thing, but that does not happen very often.
So do you think that maybe incorporating some sort of public area for anyone to hang out, that it's not hindering, local businesses or customers or just interrupting the city in general, do you think that would help with the loitering?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea, but if you go back to initially what we're talking here, most of these are public parking lots, okay? And we don't have a problem with people parking and hanging out and gathering, and as long as they're behaving in those lots.
Right.
When we have an issue is when we get in the morning and our DPW workers come into these lots and it looks like there was a party there that night and there's trash all over the floor, or all over the parking lot, pardon me, and we have to spend time to clean those lots up, okay? And when they're causing problems for the citizens who are also trying to enjoy those parking lots is when it becomes an issue.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today with me, Lieutenant Ham.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
That'll do it for today's Insights. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.